yeah, it's just below the diaphragm and the heart. The food bolus is now called chyme. So, like I said, if you've ever lost what's in your stomach, that is chyme. So the next area, this is the entrance point. This is where that, food is just coming into the stomach. Okay, so that top part is called the cardia. The next part is when you look at a picture, a diagram of the stomach, and you see where that starts to kind of bulb out, that's called the fundus, which means enlargement. It's the upper portion of the stomach. And this is where all the grinding and the mixing, a lot of it is taking place in this area. It's also where the enzymatic digestion takes place. So what we mean by enzymatic digestion is that's the enzymes that are present in your food. So if you're on a raw diet, or you eat a lot of raw foods and they're organic and they're picked fresh or relatively fresh, they still have their own enzymes that aid their own digestion. That's like with juicing. You juice all of that up. You don't need to be taking any type of digestive aids. All of the enzymes and the nutrients, and it's so broken down that in the fundus area of the stomach, this is where the live enzymes do their work from the food that you're consuming. So there's really, it can be doing a lot of work if you have a really good diet of raw foods and juicing. And then, sometimes it doesn't have to really do a whole lot of work, because if you're sending it down everything that's cooked, and there's no nutrients left, at right about medium heat. Medium heat is going to start destroying all the enzymes that occur naturally in the food that you're preparing, that you're cooking. So, so this is where this fundus is where the live food, if you will, the live food that you're consuming, this is where that is digested, and then that the enzymes from that food, is taken out, and it aids its digestion. Although stomach acid will release into the fundus, it's really the stomach acid that's released in there is only about at a 30% concentration. So it doesn't really affect the depleting the enzyme digestion that's taking place. 75% of digestion takes place in the fundus. That's if you have live enzymes. Or there's no digestion due to no bioenzymes that are present. So the chyme, which is that's your food. That's everything that's starting to break down. It's called chyme. It sits in that fundus area of the stomach for about 40 to 60 minutes, and then it moves to the next area of the stomach that's called the body, and that's the large middle section of the stomach. And this is the primary area of digestion, and it also is where the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin work at full force. So this area, in this area, the body of the stomach, the enzyme work has stopped temporarily, and what it's working on right now is the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin. So that is what really breaks down the proteins, so that they can, be converted into amino acids. Okay, so it's finally broken down. So that's where your amino acids come from, is from your protein. And then the bottom part of the stomach is called the antrum. And this is the last part of the stomach. This is where the major portion of digestion takes place. It's held here for a really long time, and it's very slowly released out through the duodenum in a very methodical manner through the pyloric muscle or the pyloric valve. So that pyloric valve is going to, the antrum, the bottom of the stomach, is going to hold the chyme there, and slowly that pyloric valve will open and just release it in small amounts into the small intestine. So everything doesn't just rush and go in there at once. It's slowly regulated out. And ironically, the antrum means cave.
Okay.
And
I should know that one.
Yeah, antrum means cave. So it's the bottom part of the stomach. It's where it hangs out for a slow releasing into the small intestine. And pylorus means gatekeeper.
Interesting.
So pylorus, by meaning the gatekeeper, that a valve is going to open, every once in a while, and so that the chyme, or not the chyme, the chyme. It's spelled CHYME, but it's pronounced chyme. It moves through these divisions of the stomach, in sequence, rather than just dumping it into one, big cavity. This distinction is crucial to the understanding of the digestion process. Unfortunately, a lot of medical doctors don't understand the sequential nature of the digestion in the stomach. And they don't really fully understand what a lot of that means. And once again, that's because they base a lot of their assumptions on observation. And when it comes to observation, 99% of the people that they see, they come in eating, the typical highly processed, cooked to death food in the modern diet. So the bodies were not designed to handle the types of food in this day and age that, we put into the stomach. I mean, we live certainly in the United States, we live in a melting pot of a lot of different nationalities, and if you go out to eat a lot, it's probably pretty easy that, one night you'd have Thai food, the next night you'd have Italian food, and then you'd have Mexican food, and then you'd have German food and French food, and man, then the stomach is going like, wow, wow, and it's all cooked. It's all cooked.
While you were talking,
desserts.
I could just imagine. I was picturing the digestive system as a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And you're the mechanic of this machine, because you got to keep these valves and make sure they're not. I was getting the whole picture through my head.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like it's a big furnace. If you don't, you got to feed it all the right things. The stomach is the center of the body. I mean, that's where the energy begins. You stop and think about it.
Right.
I mean, it's the nutrients that are pulled out of the food that's processed through the stomach that's going to decide if, how you feel today. My mentor, Dr. Jensen, used to say all the time that what you eat today will walk and talk tomorrow.
Okay, so you are what you eat.
Well, you are what you absorb. You definitely are what you absorb first. But the thing is if you have, if you've got a diet where maybe you just had hot dogs and candy and lots of pop, how are you going to feel the next day?
Drug out, tired,
Tired.
sluggish.
You're not going to feel good. You're not going to feel good. You eat more of a food more in its natural occurring state, and hopefully juicing some of those foods. Really, you kind of get into juicing, and you really look at food a lot different, and it really does change your palate over a certain amount of time, to where there's just a lot of things that used to taste good that don't.
I bet.
And you notice such a difference very quickly on how you feel, as opposed to having a food that's cooked all the time,
Right.
a diet of a lot of cooked food, or a diet where it's the live enzymes. You're eating the food naturally.
I mean, honestly, test this out a little bit. Stop eating at all fast foods for 1 month, and then go and try a burger or a taco or something afterwards. And I'm telling you, it's not going to taste the same to you as it did prior to that month of being off
of it, and adding more. The only alkaline vegetables cooked that maintain a certain amount of the alkaline level in their pH is organic, fresh produce that is lightly steamed. So that still has, a good pH level to it, but it doesn't have a good pH level to it when it's frozen, and it's acidic totally when it's canned. And if you steam it, and you steam it to the point where it's mush, I don't care if it is organic broccoli. If you've steamed it to the point where it's absolute mush, you've pretty much ruined it.
Okay, this might sound like a stupid question. I hope not, but I know some people that do this, and they love to freeze their vegetables. Okay, but they love to flash freeze it with. I think they use liquid nitrogen, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know anything about that, but if it's something where they've grown it out of their garden,
which they do,
yeah,
but they freeze it right away, boom.
Okay.
I mean, it's so it's like a cryonic freeze on it,
Yeah.
So I mean, they say that nothing can escape.
Okay.
None of the nutrients can escape from it. I was just wondering if you've heard of anything like that, or
certainly we live in an area of the country where we've only got a certain amount of time that we can enjoy everything right from our yard or locally grown that's organic, because that's a short season because of winter time, and it's cold. Even if you had a greenhouse, it's still quite the challenge with the weather, with the winter weather. So certainly it's better than canned. It's I would think that would be a good idea. I mean, it would be something that I would do.
I mean, because they use liquid nitrogen for a lot of things, ice creams,
right.
And
Ooh. Yeah. Well, to get them, frozen
for that flash freeze.
Yeah. We don't eat a lot of frozen.
No, neither do we. But
yeah, we have such access to organic food, and one thing that is great about, and I've done a lot of traveling, and I mean, I'm going to tell you something. We are spoiled in Colorado. We really are. Our grocery stores have organic produce. They have aisles of nutritional supplements. Even, all of the grocery stores, every one of them, aside from the ones that are specifically, a health food store grocer, like Whole Foods.